This week, for Foreign Concept, Ellie and I are doing old people.
Who you talking to?
That camera there,
I don't see no camera.
that's because you're old.
I'm not old, you're old.
I don't care. At least not those young folk. We have to set a good example for those young folk who are going to watch this video of what you do when you're having a date to make it all proper.
What's this? D-Day again?
It's D-Day again. And we're
That
showing
darn
them
D-Day?
how to celebrate D-Day. We're going to be doing a crossword puzzle and some knitting and reading some wholesome novels. Young folk these days aren't taught about knitting. It's a conspiracy from that government. Doesn't want people to know how to make their own clothes anymore. Have to be buying them from some mall. We went walking in that mall today. So many young people. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. Now, what's them yellow pages?
Like the phone book.
Now, why don't they just call it a phone book?
Young people these days.
Why call them yellow pages? Why not brown pages?
I think the pages are yellow. Remember that color war? Back in the color war, they won the right to have their pages yellow.
Now, that made no sense. How can you have a yellow page as a three-letter word?
I don't know. Page, that's got like, what, 4 letters? Yellow, that must have 6.
Maybe it's best I take off my seeing glasses.
And go with your blinding eyes.
Nope, best putting them back on.
Okay.
I hear them kids doing the homie outside.
Them kids know what's cool, apparently. They're not hanging out with us on D-Day.
No, they don't visit no old folk.
D-Day is the day to visit your old folk. So, we got a nice looking cartoon on the front. One guy is choking another guy who's holding a gun and is trying to shiv him with it. And it says the instant that Nick Carter leapt upon him, Dr. Quartz seemed to come to himself again. But already the blow to the butt of the revolver had fallen. Okay, we don't know where that comes from, but we're going to start reading. Nick Carter, the New York detective, is a creation. Oh, I think this is just the history of the story. This is the real story. Chapter 1, a criminal for crime's sake. There's no other reason to do crime. Kids these days, on hooligan day, they're doing crime. But you'll have to do crime for crime's sake. Nick Carter and the chief of police of Kansas City were facing each other across the big table desk in the private office at headquarters. Mr. Carter, said the chief, no, he's not young enough for that. He might be a younger brother. I thought of that, but you don't think so, eh? No, and yet, after all, it is more likely that he is. These people can't come to a decision. Is this guy's son or his brother? People these days are too indecisive. Tell you something about him, my dear chief? A book as big as Blaine's 20 years in Congress would not be half big enough to tell you about that man. He must have been a Jim Dandy. Jim Dandy is an expression used back in the olden days for someone who was very dandy. He was the handsomest man I ever saw, and the wickedest. He is at once the gentlest mannered and the most cruel. He had the softest and most musical voice you ever heard. And it could be the harshest and coldest you could ever imagine. Sounds like this guy's mighty fond of his nemesis.
I bet he would do the homie.
Over them hoes any day. His smile was the smile of a saint, said Nick. How wise you are, Carter. The mouse is playing with the cat. No, the cat has merely permitted the mouse to go a little further from its claws than was wise. Car, I do. And that's a mighty fine piece of literature. With them killings, and them taxidermists, and that doctor, they were right in the end. That Carter, he was sure. That police chief didn't believe him, but he was right.